So this is going to be a really quick video looking at the impact of globalisation on the UK economy. Again, a part of the economic change in the UK unit. So in terms of what we mean by globalisation, there's loads of definitions out there. The one that we use at Durrington is globalisation is the process which has created a more connected world with an increased movement of goods, ideas and people around that world. Now, in terms of the impact this has, we can look at the impact it has on one country and the impact on another, because sometimes what could be a positive impact for one country could be a negative for another. We're going to focus primarily on the impacts of the UK, but we might touch on a few ways that globalisation has negatively impacted or positively impacted other countries. So if we start off looking at the positive side of it, the major bonus of globalisation is the increased trade that occurs as a result of it. What globalisation has meant is that there is an increased market for UK companies. This means that rather than just selling obviously to UK residents, they're able to sell across the world. This has resulted in a larger amount of trade with other countries and is thought to be responsible for around a 1 to 2% growth in the UK economy every year. Obviously that is a major positive of globalisation. On top of that, we have what we call foreign investment. So we have foreign companies that invest in the UK, maybe setting up businesses, research and development plants and so on. And obviously that brings in new ideas into the UK economy, but also creates high employment opportunities. Quite often, these employment opportunities are normally quite specialised and high paid jobs as well. We also have what we call skilled migration. The UK technically has a skills gap. We don't produce by ourselves enough skilled workers. That may be things like doctors, dentists, nurses, engineers and so on. What globalisation, that increased movement of people has meant is that we actually fill that gap by basically attracting migrants from other countries with these skills into the UK. This is fundamentally important for our economy to run, but remember I said about having those negative impacts. It's good for us in the UK, but you also might hear this term of brain drain on the country of origin of these people. So for example, Poland to UK migration, there's a big issue with a brain drain in Poland as many skilled workers from Poland migrate to the UK to fill the skills gap that we have. The biggest probably bonus for the consumer in the UK is the fact that cheaper production abroad means that prices of products sold in the UK are lower. So it means that simply we actually see the positive impact of globalisation in our high street and in our shops. The negatives, however, for the UK can be quite severe. What we see is with increased competition from abroad that can provide cheaper manufacturing, so workers that are willing to work at lower costs, factories and land available at a much cheaper price, many British companies have decided to outsource their manufacturing to a low-income country, so to places such as India, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh. Those low-income countries that can provide much cheaper manufacturing. What this results in, I should say unemployment, is an increase in unemployment in the UK, particularly in places that were once relying on a heavy manufacturing economy, such as Northern England. So what we've seen is much higher levels of unemployment, people losing their jobs as the factories are moved abroad. We also see a problem of growing inequality. What happens, as I said, is that particularly with investment from foreign companies, research and development and highly skilled jobs are focused in the UK. These are very highly paid jobs and obviously go to your most educated workforce. However, the lower skilled jobs, the lower paid jobs that were, for example, the actual working on the factory line, the manufacturing, they are being moved abroad for cheaper work. So what you're doing is you're providing jobs for people with high levels of income and high levels of education, but taking away the jobs available to people with a low education. What we also see is that obviously if you're in a low income job, you're working on a factory line, if you go demanding for extra money or an increase in pay, the chances are that the factory will then be more likely to move their production to a low income country where they don't have to worry about that extra pay. So what we see is basically the power is taken away from the low-income workers. They don't actually really have any bargaining chips to which to try and force a higher pay, because if they do so, the chances are that their job will be moved to another country.